I think this really simple drill can help you in 3 ways that could be holding you back from distance, all sorts of different things that have to do with your form. A few months ago, I made a video. It was called the pocket drill. And I talked about how this one particular drill was just fixing everything about my form. And people seem to love that video. It ended up getting a little over 10,000 views. And all the comments are very positive and talked about how helpful it was. But there was one particular comment that really stuck out to me. And in this comment, this person had mentioned that you should try doing something like getting a disc and keeping it pinned to your hip instead of just putting your hand in your pocket and then doing the same type of practice drills. And after a few months of trying this, I really loved this. And I thought it was a pretty cool variation to the pocket drill. And so therefore, Pocket Drill 2.0 was created. So for those of you who just like super simple, straight to the point of this drill is going to help you in 3 main areas: balance, timing, and your off arm. And if you want to know how to do the drill, you can either hold one disc or multiple discs and you pin them to your side. You can either do this with like an open hand, or you can kind of hold them like this and just pin them close to your hip. And then when you do this, all you're going to do is hold them there the entire time and do a normal pull through drill, with the focus being keeping these discs pinned to your hip as much as you can. And for those of you like myself who do like short and simple and to the point, but also to explain it just a little bit, if you stick with me, I'm going to explain a little bit more in depth how this drill has helped so many different things in my form and why this is probably my favorite drill that I do now. The first thing this is going to help is your balance. Weird voice crack. So the first thing that this is going to help is your balance. Whether you realize this or not, when you are walking in general, particularly though, if you were doing any kind of walk up or run up in disc golf, you're using both of your arms to stay balanced. So when you take one of those arms and really focus on keeping it close to your side and holding something, you're now going to have to focus a little bit more on balance. If you're doing this drill and you start to do your throw and you're leaning too far forward and you're finding yourself off balance that way, or maybe you're finding yourself off balance leaning back, and for most people it's probably going to be a little bit more of like finding yourself off balance leaning forward or sideways, that's a pretty good indicator that you're not keeping a good balance throughout the entirety of your form. And doing this drill, we'll call it the Pocket Drill 2.0, focusing your arm and holding something close to your side throughout the entirety of your form and your walk up is going to teach you how to be more balanced. And more balance, especially in a form that requires a lot of movement, is always a good thing. I believe it was Drew Gibson that said in a video one time that at any point in your form, like the walk up of your form, you should be able to stop and stay balanced. And so if Drew Gibson thinks balance is important and he throws a disc stupid far, then balance is probably pretty important. And so the next thing this drill is going to help you with is your off arm. So your off arm ever is just out in the middle of nowhere, just kind of floating around doing whatever it wants. What that is going to do is create a lot of drag when you're trying to rotate and maybe even some off balance and things like that. It's going to teach you to keep your arm compact, especially at that prime pull through moment. And you see this all the pros at some point, no matter what their off arm is doing, when they're in that prime moment of pulling through, their arm is close to their body, if only for a moment. It's still close to their body. I'm not a scientist or a genius when it comes to physics or anything like that, but I do know that when I was a kid, if there was like a spinny roller chair type thing and I wanted to see how fast I could spin, then I noticed that if I started spinning in the chair and my arms and legs were out, the chair would not spin that fast. But if I ever just kind of like latched onto the chair and pulled my arms and legs in close, then the chair would start spinning a lot faster. And I think that same logic applies to disc golf rotation as well. The last thing, and debatably the most important thing that I think this is going to help you with, is your timing. Timing is so important. You can be doing all of the right things at the wrong time in disc golf form, and it can just mess up absolutely everything. So by taking a disc and having it focused on keeping it close to your hip, and now you're having to focus on your balance more and all those types of things, you can be a little bit more intentional with every step that you take. Because now I'm kind of concerned with making sure I don't drop the disc. I can focus on every single step that I'm taking. A lot of people, myself included, a lot of times when we say we're going to do something with our form, do something new, we like get to the tee pad and we're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And like the moment you start to walk forward, everything's just like a blur and you forget everything that you thought you were going to try and do. If I'm focused on my balance and I'm thinking about every single step that I take, I'm thinking how I don't need to step too far. I don't need to step too quickly. And I can also remember that, hey, when I take that final step, that plant foot step, that I need to pause just for a moment so that my weight can shift in my hips. And then I can also think about how, okay, don't try to just rip the disc as hard as I can. Pull it through nice and smooth. Because I'm having to do these things slower, because I'm focused on balance and keeping a disc close to my hip, it allows me to think more intentionally about every step that I make in my form. And you're probably thinking, what's the difference between this and just the normal pocket drill? My arm is just kind of floating around in my pocket and I'm not thinking about it. It's not going to help me once I get onto the course, at least not as much. Don't have to be throwing discs out in the field to do this drill. You can use a dishcloth or something like that, or even just hold a disc and don't release it. I don't really know what to do. Like, you put the disc close to the screen, say like and subscribe. It's been an awesome year of YouTube. Love y'all. See you in the next one.